Hello, 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 and welcome to Bear With Us on the Bear Claw Media podcast feed. I am Chris Bolin, joined as always by Ben Schleiger, and we are presented by Crave Hot Dogs and Barbecue in Greeley, Colorado, offering specialty all-beef hot dogs, savory barbecue and sides, plus a self-pour beer wall. A perfect setting for family outings or a night with friends. Stop by and hashtag Beat the Craving today. Ben, how you doing, buddy? It's a beautiful Sunday morning.
Yeah, good time to excuse me, good Lord. Good time to praise the Lord and also praise that football is almost around the corner. So excited for that. Excited for, you know, in Bear Country, we're always looking at potential. We're always looking at optimism. We're 0-0 right now. We're not behind the 8 ball. It's a good time.
Yeah, so since UNC does not play a week 0 game this week, I don't actually know the last time they played one or if they ever have really. We're kind of taking more of a holistic view. We went through each position throughout the offseason, but now we figured we'd bring them together. We have a bit of a gimmick, a little way of featuring a few players. So we are gonna start today's episode with what we like to call the Asparagus Draft. Because Ben, you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so we're kind of looking at who from Lamb's inaugural signing class that we might be excited for this year. Kind of taking just a look back, kind of flashback, see what kind of players have developed into since then. So Coach Lamb loves to have the metaphor that asparagus takes 3 years to fruit and be an actual crop and whatnot, and that's kind of how he envisioned the program when he came in. I'm not sure if he meant to make that reference or if that was just kind of like his like one in the back chamber is like, oh yeah, asparagus. I'm growing asparagus at home. Like boom. Regardless, it caught on. It's catchy. It's been around for 3 years now, and so have these guys. So we're gonna take a look. Chris is gonna choose three of his favorite. I'm gonna choose three of my favorite, and we'll talk about some of the honorable mentions. Without further ado, I'm gonna give Chris the first pick since he's producer, editor, workhorse for us.
Yeah, I was looking for a quarter here to flip because we didn't actually discuss who was going to go first. But I mean, if you're going to twist my arm, I suppose I will. I will take 1-1. Um, this is interesting because like literally about half a second ago, we had kind of decided on the list of guys we were picking from, and I really almost want to come out of left field now, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'll keep it pretty stock. Braden Monroe, number one. I think he's probably the most proven of all of these asparagus guys. You know, first class in. He came in, actually played a decent amount as a freshman. Ever since that freshman year, last year he was undoubtedly the 1-1. Didn't have a lot of success. Didn't put up a ton of numbers, but just that wasn't necessarily his fault. Rotating door at quarterback. And now I think he's actually primed for a breakout season. I don't want to step on somebody who's surely going to be picked probably pretty soon here, but I do think Monroe will end up the top receiver just because with Castelli coming back, I think when Castelli was the quarterback, he favored Monroe a little bit more than a guy like Keone or some of the backups did. And I think I think Cheeks is undoubtedly talented, but I think uh, the kind of chemistry between Monroe and Castelli will lead to him being the top receiver this year, at least out of the wide receivers. So if you want to throw tight ends in there too, it gets a little bit muddier. But 1-1, I'm going with Braden Monroe.
Interesting. You'd leave your guy in the dust. You'd leave him waiting in the wings. Chris's most exciting player that he's been hyped on all offseason. He doesn't choose. But let me put on the villain hat. Because Chris says I'm always a villain, I'm going to take Carver Cheeks. Chris has been
Yeah.
hyped up about Carver. He loves Carver. He loves that Carver came back to the program. And I'm starting to buy into the Kool-Aid a little bit. I want to see what quarterback health looks like. I want to see if the scheme has improved at all to kind of flesh out the different options that we can use for these receivers because they're really talented. And Carver at 6'3", 180, he plays every bit of it. So he's fast, he's strong, really looking back at the tape, Chris was right about a lot of things. Cheeks is pretty valuable at receiver.
Say that again, would you, Ben?
Chris is right. Carver Cheeks is pretty valuable at receiver, so I think it'll be interesting. I know there's a lot of guys in the mix, so I don't know that Carver ends up too. He might be more of a slot guy because Menegatti coming over from CSU has been getting a lot of love in the reps and whatnot. So receiver is going to be a contention. I mean, even somebody that we might pick later on is potentially in that mix from this draft as well. But Cheeks, really good athlete from Fountain, Colorado, a Colorado kid. It's nice to have those Colorado kids starting to shine on our roster, and we just need some wins to be able to give that shine a little bit more validation.
Yeah, see, I think I've been good thing normal Ben's back. We can talk now. I'm glad you're coming around on Cheeks, because I'm super thrilled he's coming back. I think the way that played out, while it could leave a little to be desired, I think ultimately water found its level, and this is probably the best outcome for both the team and for Cheeks. So yeah, happy to see him back, and I would be surprised if it wasn't a clear 1-2. I know Menegatti's look good. There have been even Cossack, and Cossack's been getting a lot of reps. Who's the other returner? River Stout. I still expect to have a pretty solid role.
Well, and that's
I know
not
you
even
were.
working in tight ends into the passing game, so who knows what they try to do with that, because, excuse me, we've seen that there's not even our favorite for a starter. There's two other redshirt or out of eligibility after this year type guys. So I think that it's going to be, as much as we should rely on the ground, it's going to be pretty crowded through the air too.
Are you saying we have two tight ends that are out of eligibility after this year, or just two
Well,
wide
Hank and
receivers?
Charlie should both be four-year guys, yeah, unless
I
Charlie has
think,
a
yeah.
grad year.
I think they are. I got a little confused because I was like, wait a minute, River Stout's not a tight end, but I see
No.
where
Talking about the tight end.
you're going with that.
Yep. So just overall, whoever could take the ball through the air, really, there's a lot of options. We just need those options to, be rip roaring, ready to go every time they get on the field for a rep. Like somebody drops the ball, that might drop them on the depth chart.
No, good. Honestly, yeah, because we can't afford like dumb mistakes like that. I think we're in a position where a lot of things have to go right to kind of pull us out of where we've been. So I'm with you on that. For my second pick, I'm a little bit torn. There's two, maybe three guys that I'm kind of looking at, but I think I'm going to go with Levi Johnson up front in the trenches. I think because mainly what made the tiebreaker here is I think if UNC has success this year, a lot of it's going to start up front and a lot of it's going to come through that ground game, which is funny after we picked two wide receivers to start this. But Levi Johnson, I think the starting O-line has kind of been pretty similar from what we talked about, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago on the O-line. I believe it's Levi Johnson, Fa Pooley, Z-Bell, Frank Thompson, and Jack Bacon. So that's the correct number of people, right? And it seems like that's been a pretty strong unit. They seem to run out there with the ones every time. And I think Levi Johnson's a big part of that. I think he's one of Lamb's, he's one of the 12 NIL guys, right? Him and Zeeble are the two on the O line. So I think I believe Colorado kid too. Colorado Springs Classical Academy. He kind of fits. He really what's the word? Epitomizes. He really epitomizes what Lamb's asparagus metaphor is. Whether or not he had that as thought out, or we just kind of snagged it and ran with it. I think Levi Johnson kind of epitomizes that.
I like that. Not where I thought you were going to go, but I'm going to go with a big boy as well. Kind of the big boys are still slated for breakout per se this season because, like we said, whole D line gone, transferred, graduated, etc. ETL gone. Doesn't matter, we don't have them. But who we do have, I'm gonna go with Dominic Butts. him and somebody else on this list were pretty even for reps, pretty even for games
My
appeared.
next pick.
But spoiler alert. But I think overall, Butts has just a little bit more of an upside. Size wise, he's a little bit bigger. You can kind of build off of that. So I think Butts is a good choice. I think really, even though he wasn't in the right position all the time, he was getting after the ball. If there was a pile, he was trying to push it down. So I think overall, Butts has the right idea. He just needs to be shaped and molded into a start.
When you say he wasn't like in the right positions, what do you mean? Like just
It's
the way
just
they
like there was
used him?
some times where like the D line was just getting obviously beat. Like there's basketball players out there playing football, just like when Eastern Washington was out there. It wasn't necessarily even a football play. It was, homeboy with the ball who's juking and moving and shaking and grooving and all that jazz. And it wasn't really football. It was somebody out there who was just a better athlete than who was in front of him.
Fair enough. I will pick somebody. Actually, good transition because I'm going to go with McCurr Abrams, a guy that I don't want to say it'd be hard to find a better athlete on the edge because you can find them, but he has the build. He has the build that you want out of that. He just kind of looks like a pass rusher. Unfortunate because he's been hurt for a good chunk of the fall here, so we didn't see him in the scrimmage. Hasn't taken a ton of reps at practice, at least from what I could tell, but 6'4", 245, built very similar to Butts. I would say he's gotten like a little bit more run, but it's very, very comparable. So I think Abrams, like we said, the D line is a big old question mark at D tackle because it's all new guys, and at DN because they're all guys who haven't really proven it. We don't have a David Hogue coming back who was a Big Sky all preseason pick, or we don't even have like who is the edge that transferred out this last season? I always bring him up when you ask me for somebody else's name, but I can't think of him now that I need it, of course. But
Yeah, that one's in the blank for me as well. But either way, we're going to need help on
Austin
that D
P,
line
I
for
think.
sure.
Why can't I? I'm stupid. I can't think of his name, but
Wow. Yeah, I mean, you kind of went out of left field with that one, I feel like. I feel
that's
like
not who you were thinking of?
no, as far as the 6 that I was expecting it get drafted, that's not where I thought you were going to go, and you put me in a tough spot. I do like Abram. I do like his potential. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Marcus Howard almost.
That's the guy I was trying to think of.
Oh, there we
Thank you.
go. There we go. Full circle. We found it by mistake. Stepped in it right there. But yeah, one of those guys who he might not necessarily be heavy enough. Of course, we're looking at the freshman roster, so looking at the actual roster, we'll see what he's
He's
actually listed.
246 on the actual roster. That's the one
so
I had pulled
he
up.
ate a couple cheeseburgers and protein shakes, but either way, like that's still slightly light for a D end. But if he plays like Howard, where he can be blitzing or kind of like a flats linebacker almost, he could play that weird kind of flex Von Miller edge role as the NFL likes to create and make up shit. So in terms of like him being an edge rather than a defensive end, I like it. He definitely seems like he could be versatile and stuff. Just need to see where that play recognition is.
Yeah, no, I'm interested. I think I know the guy you were thinking I was going to go with, but who's your last pick? Last guy that's going to make the graphic that we're probably not going to make, but in our heads, this will be the last guy on the graphic.
I really wanted to go with him, but I feel like we're talking about D line just a hair much. So unfortunately, due to saturation, I think I'm going to go a different direction. And also at a not a deprived position necessarily based off of like talent or anything, because there's talent there. We just don't know what the hell the position's going to look like. I'm going with corner. I'm going to go with Caleb Kwame. So in 2024, he was in 8 games. He got 5 solo tackles, 5 assisted tackles, defended a pass, and got a fumble recovery. Sometimes fumbles are like scratch tickets. Sometimes you just luck into a good one. Sometimes you theoretically pick a good one, but realistically, I think Kwame was in the right place at the right time on that play. So I'm gonna go with Kwame, 6 foot 170. Now on the roster, he lost a
6
pound.
foot 170.
Lost a pound somehow, somewhere between now and freshman year. So congrats! Like, how does that
The
happen?
one guy, he's the one guy that lost weight in his
Right.
freshman year of college, both athlete and non-athlete.
That's all right. As long as he's quick and strong, we'll forgive him for being a little undersized. But yeah, I think Caleb's going to need to be able to be one of those Colorado guys that shines in the secondary. I know we brought some guys in. I know there's some guys that are slated to just kind of be, stock per se, and just kind of, or chalk per se, and just kind of go into the starting role and whatnot. But we need those guys that come off the bench, come off for relief plays and make a splash. And I'd really like to see Kwame have a big year.
Yeah, Kwame's going to be involved 100%, even if he's not necessarily like one of the top two outside corners, because I think we have, or maybe he will be, but there's plenty of room in between the corners and the safeties in that secondary to get. There's probably going to be 8-10 guys at least rotating in there.
Yeah,
That
kind of like
good
last year,
handful.
how Unc Dale Bryant just kind of he came in, made a big difference, laid a hit or two, got after a pass, and then went back out for his relief, because he was in the relief reps kind of last year. So
See, I thought we disagree on this a bit. I thought he started more. I thought he was a bigger part last year than
I think he
you
started
do.
for sure early in the season, but as as we all know, our stats department is not as on the ball as our stats department is this year. Shout out to everything looking way better on the website. Not sure if I can still access the stats quite yet, but everything on there looks very pretty. So looking for it to be very functional and helpful this year.
All right, so you would want to go a little bit quicker through a couple guys we didn't touch on. I assume Brody Bleak was the other option you had there. Yeah,
That was my
he's that
struggle.
he's that interior D lineman, kind of the one. He's been like the one D tackle in the first like 3 years that Lamb's actually recruited out of high school, because it feels like they pulled from JUCOs, getting Yanga Matuanai and Michael Jordan Jr. And now this year they have a whole herd of transfer guys, Levi Little, Andres Rodriguez. But Bleak is kind of the one who's holding down the fort, local kid. I believe a Valor kid, if I'm not mistaken. I have too many
Yep.
tabs open
No, he
to try to
definitely is,
bounce
and he
back now.
sized up a bit. So he went to 6'2", 300. So definitely a good nose tackle type per se.
Yeah, and another guy I think dealing with some nagging injuries this fall, but it's still early enough. We're hoping that just because they missed a little bit of time during the scrimmage or during some practices, it doesn't mean it's going to necessarily carry over into the season. But who else we got? Really, we talk about local. This kid's about as local as it could get. There's like two schools that could have been more local with oh god, now I feel stupid. Reese Pratt's out of Northridge. He saw a little time returning kicks. He wasn't even like the far back guy, but the second guy kind of stacked in front. Podcast favorite Caden Box came in, played really well against Portland State last year, but doesn't seem to really factor, at least as of right now, into a ton of plans for this upcoming season. Couple guys have transferred out. Who else do you want to give a shout out to off of this inaugural list?
Yeah, the other one I was kind of struggling with, and realistically, it's just that pass breakup and fumble recovery that made the difference for me. Highlighting the secondary, but Braylon Warren, so I think he's listed here as a corner. On here, it might be safety, so he might be kind of floating around and whatnot. But he appeared in 3 games for 4 tackles, but he's also 6'2", 185. I think it'd be nice to have somebody with a little bit of size out there. If he can keep up with the bigger receivers, that'd be perfect. Just have somebody that we're not just getting like little kid elementary dunked on for those big passes, because there was a couple like you highlighted a few episodes ago, the Fredrickson just whoop, bombing palming the ball, and it's like we can't even reach it. So what's the point? So I'd
It's
like to
like
see
holding.
what he can do there. Definitely some guys who transferred out of the program, disappointed that they're not still here. There's still a couple other guys on this list that are pretty useful. I think that are sticking around. Jace Villers, he's probably going to be trying to struggle for reps in the receiver game. But hey, if we can get him in there, anybody who's catching ball and making first downs will be helpful. So I think that rounds out most of the list of who's coming back or who's still here. But overall, there's some good local recruits. I think coaches has stuck true to his Colorado gimmick since then. So besides the RMAC schools and even more than a few of them, we're definitely the leader of Colorado kids getting a shot, and definitely the leader of Colorado kids getting a shot at D1. So coaches definitely stuck true to that tagline and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see what we get in the season from it.
Yeah, and this has always been kind of, I assume you could probably, if there was a recording of like Ed Lamb's job interview, I bet season 3 was mentioned to God, I can't remember a single goddamn name this morning. Who's the athletic director? Darren. Okay, let me start that over. If we had a recording of Ed Lamb's job interview, I bet there's footage of him telling Daryl Dunn year 3 multiple times in that thing. And we obviously would have wanted to win way more than one game over the first 2 years, but I think this is kind of the culmination of this was always supposed to be the year. We were hoping to kind of outpace that, but I think when you're just kind of looking at it tangibly, year 3 was always supposed to be the year. So it's really nut up or shut up time for this whole program, honestly, in where we're at right now.
Yep, so looking back at the Asparagus Draft, Chris had Monroe, Johnson, Abram. I had Cheeks, Butts, and Kwame. Man, if
You
we
got cheeks and butts.
if we traded Kwame for Johnson, that would be an all-time barstool list for sure.
I really wish we would have thought. We should have done a small amount of planning on this, Ben. This could have been great. This could have gone great.
Hey, as long as we're getting cheeks in the seats, right?
Hey, there we go. Ben, do you want to figure out a way to transition this into an ad for Crave hot dogs and barbecue?
Oh, you read my mind, buddy. I was gonna go there exactly as Facebook crashed. But if you want to get some delicious hot dogs and barbecue in Greeley, Colorado, they offer specialty all beef hot dogs, savory barbecue and sides, plus a Dave and Buster's like self pour beer wall. Take your card, pour your ounces, get a good refreshing beer over there. It's a perfect setting for
Get
family
several.
outings or a night with friends. They offer poker night and karaoke night and other theme nights like that. So check out their sign out front for weekly postings of what's up and what's going on the restaurant. And also, Facebook has some funny videos of them just doing some good shenanigans. Todd and Heath are some funny fellows. And the latest one where I can't remember what the Vine or TikTok sound was, but it's like, hey, what do you do? Throw stuff at Kevin all day? Wham! And one of the guys gets hammered with a sausage in the face. So good times,
Nice.
good humor over there. So like those guys quite a bit. Definitely planning a family outing over there soon. So I will be stopping by Crave to introduce the in-laws to good barbecue in Greeley.
Yeah, so stop in and hashtag beat the craving today. Um, but yeah, let's move on. Last year we ran through the schedule, kind of took a look at each individual game, picked what ones we thought would be wins, would be losses, could be either. We did terrible, man. We did awful. We were way too optimistic. Sue us. I think I had them at 4 wins. I think you had them at 5. Both very comparable. I don't know if either of us had them winning the Weber State game, funny enough, but let's take I have a actually, I think I had a better idea of how you would have picked this last year than I do this year, because somehow I think when we first started, you were kind of the optimistic one and I was like more reserved. And I think slowly over the 2 years of winning one game, that's like flipped, weirdly enough, that I've become more optimistic about the program. I don't want to say optimistic because that sounds kind of negative, and you're not like down in the dumps about what's going on, but I think I'm just a
To a
little
certain
bit
degree, it has
more.
to be optimism over reason, though, because since the dawn of our D1 football era, there's been few bright
Nothing but
spots, and we
optimism.
were thankful and lucky enough to see the 2 winning seasons while we're in school. Yeah, I think optimism has to be factored in a schmitty bit because, well, we need it. I can always see like the ticket holders, the season ticket holders being like, yeah, I'm a Bears fan. I'm gonna sign up for this bittersweetness of like sweet that football's back, bitter of like, oh Lord, how far are we gonna get?
All right, so I think week one, Ben, I if we don't pick this one as a win against Chadron State, I struggle to see any that we do pick as wins. So dare I mark you down as a win, a 1-0 in the record column for UNC after Chadron comes to town.
If we're not, this is danger. Like the amount of just vitriol on social media when coach got extended, what, a month, maybe 2 past the end of the season, where it's like, ooh, coach won a game, let's extend him. That's not the reason he got extended. The reason he got extended is because he showed Darren Dunn enough development that he still trusts in the process at this point to give coach more time to develop these players, because he came in on a development mind track for this program and whatnot. But
I think we do need to kind of, I get why. That's crazy. That's just batshit crazy that they extended him for 2 more years out, because there was no reason. Like, it's a great like show of confidence in him, and I do respect that.
it's
But like,
wonky to the fans, though.
it makes and it doesn't. There was no need. Like, he still had 3 years on his deal, and hopefully this is all
Did
for
he,
naught.
did
We
he have a
win.
5-year then?
He had a 5 year to start, and as we sit right now, he still has a 5 year because he got the 2 year extension. So like, I don't understand what the exact purpose of that was, because look, you lose to Shadron now, and that I don't know all the details, but UNC's not in a spot to pay 2 coaches, you know. And I imagine now this is year 3 of McCaffrey being gone. I imagine they're not paying him anymore. But if you have to pay Lamb plus another coach the 200 grand a year to come here, it's just catastrophic for the budget that's already
Is coaches
catastrophic.
a full buyout? Is his full
I
buyout
don't
200?
I don't know actually what his buyout is in this one, but
Because okay, I don't mean this in a bad way, but like I feel like if somebody was gonna take an L and just be like, "Hey, I tried," like I'm just gonna move on and cut my losses. I feel like Lamb would be a good guy and not be like in it for the money. He'd just be in it for whatever he needs until, like, money wise, until he needs to find something else or move on or go back to BYU, etc. But I don't think money would be a big contention like it was with McCaffrey, where we had to have some very defined legal terms. But it was
but I
like,
also, no matter how nice of a guy you are, I don't think you're just gonna say, nah, keep that 200 grand.
no, I
Like,
don't
I
think he's
think
doing it for free, but I don't think he's gonna try to, leave with the whole bank vault either. I don't know. It could be negotiated there. I think, especially with how supporting in well, let's just say dog shit scenario, as we've been in a winless D1 program. It's tough. Like I don't understand why they thought that was a good idea. I think across the board it was like maybe coach needed a little bit of support and a little bit of like a little gimme of like, hey man, like I'm trying, but like this shit sucks. Like, and it does. Like, win one game because you forced 3 turnovers within the red zone when they're coming at you. Like, I get it. That's a tough way. That's a gritty win. It's a good win. Sure, you can chalk it up injuries and all that everybody wasn't their best that day, but we ultimately won the game. So everybody should be 1,000% proud of Weber, but we need more moments like that. Like, you can't just go through a program for 3 years and expect everybody to stay after 3 years and not have more than 3 wins. Like, if we don't have at least 2 wins, if not 3, I think we're going to see a tidal wave of either upset people or transfer requests.
Yeah, no, I without a doubt. Like, I think if so, he's going to be here for the full season. There's no question. I see
I
no
think he'd
world
be
in
here
which
till the
they
end of the
fire him.
contract as long as nothing catastrophic happens. Like we don't have another 0 season. We're
I mean, if they
probably going
lose
to see
week
him
one,
still.
I think heads. I think if they lose week one, we're not only on the way to a 0-win season because that was our easiest chance at a win, but also like the the vibes have been very, very up and down. I would say they've been high at the beginning of every season and have been very low by the end of every season. So I think that would that would be an immediate crash out where like maybe what we were seeing it towards the end of last year where I'm not going to say they gave up, but you could just tell there was something else there. I don't know what the word is for it, but it wasn't what it was at the beginning.
There's only
And I
so
think
long you can keep disinterested people interested. It gets
exactly.
to a certain point. No matter how much of a good person you are, you start losing a little bit of that step, a little bit of that fire. And even if Hank Gibbs was out there, like he would even lose a step just because it's hard when other teammates are giving it 100%. See somebody giving it 90 and they just took 2 plays off because it didn't matter, ball didn't come to their side of the field. It itches at you as an athlete. It sits wrong. It's like drinking spoiled milk. Like you feel that this is wrong. You just want it out of your system. So yeah, late in the season when things are, just falling apart, breaking apart, people are making their vacation plans, or making their transfer portal plans. It's tough. Like, and you still have 2 games to go. Like when we had Vincent King and Napke, those guys were out on it. 2 to 3 weeks, before the season ended. It's like their transfer requests were already floating around social media, unverified, unconfirmed, and I was like, please God, no, it can't be. But it really was. Like they were just like, this isn't how I want to end my career. And I get that. But at the same time, like if we lose to Shadron, because they're tied for 7th in the RMAC poll. Also, how do you tie for 7th? That's stupid. But if we lose to Shadron, that's saying that we are worse than them, Black Hills State, South Dakota Mines, Colorado Mesa, Colorado Mines, Western Colorado, CSU Pueblo. Sure, the top 3 are pretty solid. D2, playoff perennials or playoff, flirting perennials. But that's saying that we're worse than some local or some regionally local places that we don't deserve to be under. Like we, as a program, as fans, as alumni, we deserve to at least be better than the top of the RMAC. Like CSU Pueblo, Western, Mines, they've done some great stuff. They've gone deep in the playoffs. I mean, heck, one of them was even contending for a national championship. So, to that degree, yeah. If you lose to them, it's understandable. Anyone else, unacceptable.
Okay, so I did a little digging. Great. I don't want to call it a rant because that sounds negative.
Little soapboxing, little high horsing.
Yeah, there you go. So if they fire him before December 31st, 2028, they have to pay his full salary through December 2028. So if they fired him in December 2025, that would be about 600 grand they'd be on the hook for. But unlike McCaffrey, it's offset by it's like the way when like basketball players are bought out in the NBA. If he gets a job at BYU making 200 grand or more, which I assume any Power 5 assistant job is probably going to be getting that. It's basically offsets, so UNC's off the hook. But if he decided, hey, I'm going to take 3 years and just sit at home, then UNC is fully responsible for that money through December 2028. And yeah, I think I understand more what you were saying. I don't see that being the case with Lamb. I think he would just kind of move on and get another job in football, and it would be not as big of a financial disaster for UNC as it definitely could be.
Yeah, I agree. So Bears fans, if you like what Coach Lamb is doing, Give him some
Like,
pats on the
subscribe, comment, review.
yeah, right, exactly. Give him some pats on the backs. Give him some nice words and whatnot. If you don't like what he's doing, well, yeah, you might want to have an FBS team just slotted up in the background for anytime we start getting down by 30, because
Yeah.
sounds like we're gonna have Lamb until January 2029, unless powers that be or old friends of his come calling.
Which I still believe that we'll be glad to have him in 2029. I'm still optimistic in that regard. Because as we both predicted, Ben, they're going to be starting 1-0 this year.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not out on him at all. I feel like 1-0 is, I mean,
The
as long as
baseline.
it's a 10-point game, I feel like we can feel good about it. Sure, that sounds horrendous to say, but like as long as it's that and it's like no injuries, nothing like that, I think we can say it's a win. I still believe in Lamb, but I mean, to a certain degree, we have to respect the parents and players who their time clock is sped up by 100 of just like they got 4 years to make a difference, 4 years to have fun, 4 years to just get something done, make it to the league if that's really something they want to do. Anybody who's not willing to be patient, I get it, but like we also have to respect where they're at mentally too, because they're just their little time clock of where they need to be going and stuff always has an energy drink just feeding that clock, just keeping it at 100.
All right. I will also assume CSU. We can put them down for losses there. I think like there might have to be like an earthquake mid game for something to really shift in UNC's favor here. Because CSU should also be better than they were last year by all accounts coming out of Fort Collins.
Yeah, which kind of surprises me. I saw fourth in the what will be next year Mountain West, because college football is always keeping us on our toes, sending people different places. But at least for next year, they are slated to be fourth in the preseason poll for the Mountain West, behind Boise, UNLV, San Jose State. So they're up there. I'm not saying the Mountain West is a power conference to any degree, but the talent difference and the size difference was pretty noticeable on some of those plays. Not saying anything against our guys, it's a whole step up, and we're just trying to level on our step right now. Thinking about beating somebody a step above us, it's always a good mentality, but it's not necessarily reality.
Yeah. Also, I can't think of the name. I think his name is Ken something. The fact that the old Navy coach, who's now at San Jose State, has done enough to get San Jose State voted third in the preseason poll, he should just be given a lifetime contract there.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
kudos to
They
him.
really turned it around. They gave that school a football program. They had a football team, now they have a football program.
Which is, I guess, very similar to what Lamb's trying to do. It's just taking a little more time.
And I mean,
A
let's
football.
be real. At least like we've come a long way, infrastructure and like what we're trying to do wise. Like, sure, we still need lights. That is 1,000% stand on business. I will die on that hill that we need lights, just for a respect factor across D1 and the league. But we've come a long way. We have a turf field that looks beautiful. We have a separate workout weight room area that is very useful to a lot of students and whatnot. So I think that's great. But yeah, like the biggest thing we need is wins, because I think we've taken steps in a lot of the other categories. Our
Ben
uniforms don't look like
froze,
shit. I
and
think
I'm
we've
not sure
we've
if
really
it's me
upgraded
or if
across the
it's
board.
Ben.
Oh, Chris might be frozen. While Chris is possibly frozen, I will take you guys through the Missouri Valley preseason poll. So, looking at it, we play South Dakota on September 13th. So, they are going to be third in the Missouri Valley Conference. They did get hammered with a lot of transfers, especially on their O line. It looks like Chris is back. But anyways, talking about the huge recruiting that South Dakota got slammed by Chris, I think that's still a pretty scary game for us, because South Dakota, I think everybody is still penciling in as a playoff team, if not a quarterfinal possible.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Despite losing their whole offensive line kind of late in the transfer portal cycle, from what I can recall. What did they end up in the? They're right around fifth in every national preseason poll.
Yeah, they're
They're one
still
of
a
those.
top 10 team.
I feel like they're one of those There's a pretty consensus top five from what I gathered with NDSU, Montana State, Incarnate Word, South Dakota State, and South Dakota. So I don't think I ever saw them really top two, but I think I've seen them anywhere 3 to 5. So they're still a national power for all the intents and purposes. So I don't know if you gave your
In
prediction,
terms
but
of the
I
stats
have that one.
performed, they are listed fourth.
Okay, yeah. So I have that one down as a loss. I assume you do as well, Ben.
Yeah, I would love to see Vermilion painted in navy and gold, and the streets of South Dakota, whatever those dirt roads might look like, are just painted with Bears fans and happy wins. Yeah, beating number 4 potentially in all of the FCS. That might change. I don't know who they start out with on the season quite yet, but I don't know. They were 11-3 last year, and like this is a team who lost significant players that would have potentially put them second, third at worst. Like these guys were getting significant votes above South Dakota State in a lot of the independent polls. We might even take a look at where they ended up in the Red Shirts poll. But yeah, South Dakota is a scary unit to lose so many key players and still be fourth best in the country.
All right, so this next one is interesting because Houston Christian, or I wrote them down as Houston Baptist, formerly Houston Baptist, now Houston Christian. They're in a weird spot. They're speaking of being tied for seventh, they're tied for seventh in the Southland preseason poll. It was, I think, McCaffrey's first or second year, which I guess, okay, one of the McCaffrey years, I could say. They played Houston Christian, maybe still Houston Baptist at the time, and just boat raced them. So it's an interesting one where you think a Big Sky team plays a bottom half Southland team preseason. It should be a win, but also there's nothing there. You have to throw that out with this UNC team. I'm choosing to be optimistic. I'm going to say that one will be a win. Just because I need to find a couple throughout the schedule. What are you thinking, Ben?
Yeah, I don't love our history because as much as we scheduled the Southland, barring we didn't know Incarnate Word was going to be a
Yeah, that was
goddamn
unfortunate.
unit where they were going to have Cam Ward and they were going to have just Zach Calzada and one after another just reload and cause havoc across the FCS. So I think that one, honestly, chalk that one up as just, hey, nobody knew that was going to be crazy. But Houston Baptist, Christian, Lutheran, whatever the hell they want to be, we shouldn't have done as poorly as we did against them. We shouldn't have done as poorly against Lamar. Abilene Christian, pretty spicy team. So I feel like that was another thorn in the rough that we didn't necessarily deserve to run into, but that's just what happens when you schedule 5 to 6 years out. So ultimately, I feel like that's just kind of where it is. All time, we are 3-1 against them. So it's optimistic. I don't know. I feel like we need to prove ourselves. The one thing that really makes me feel like this is going to be a win is looking at Houston Christian's schedule. They have a cupcake, then they play EKU. That might be pretty bad in their favor. Definitely bad in their favor. They go to Nebraska before they see us. So hopefully they get really downtrodden, beat up. The Huskers put a whooping on them, and then we see them next week. So based off of that, because, we can't guarantee anything in Bear Country, but I would say this is one of those. This is a non-conference game that you could lock down. It should be a win unless we have a problem at quarterback.
That's crazy. You were the whole misdirect. I was not ready for you to say confidently we should win this game. That was not on my bingo card.
I'm leaving that asterisk in, that little out of like, if quarterback goes wrong, I don't know.
I feel like that can just be an asterisk over the whole season,
That's fair.
honestly. But okay, so Idaho State, we both have UNC sitting at 2-2, which sure, clip this. That's hilarious on its own. I know, guys, I get it.
2015, 2016 coming back.
Heading into Idaho State, which the schedule really just it stymied us, Ben. It really was just asking us to make UNC have a winning record after 5 games. So I have picked first in all of these. What are you thinking on Idaho State? Who are, I believe that
7.
one is here in town.
Yep.
Yeah.
We start with them. They are 7th in the poll. I don't feel good about this one, Chris. Preseason
Okay.
is always like, we're always like, yeah, our guys look great. They're going to do better, blah, blah, blah. Also, there's a lot of Slaughterfest ahead on the schedule, so there's going to be some pretty easy. Yeah, no, that's a loss. I feel like Idaho State will be interesting. It'll be up in the air. Of course, what we say records wise doesn't matter, and it's all horseshit at the end of the day. But I feel like if we're gonna have a trap game against somebody in probably the whole season, this is a trap game. I feel like Idaho State has too much turnover on their receiver core. I know that Jordan Cook's coming back, and he is a dog, so he could cut us up. It could be ugly early, but I feel like the Bears are going to be in this one. So, trying to find other places on the schedule to be optimistic. I feel like this is the best time to be optimistic, and I'm going to put in a win because Willig's going to hit a game-winning field goal.
Yeah, I'm going strictly off of vibes. I feel this one's a win. Poor Idaho State. I really will. Next episode, we're doing like a conference preview, and I really wanted to be high on them, but they are just going through the ringer this season. And Cook, yeah, he's coming back, but also he wasn't the starter last year, and I think he split time the year before. So
He did have a season-ending injury last year.
Oh, word. I thought he was okay. That gives me a little more optimism for them.
But
I
the
thought
year
he was
before,
sitting
he
behind
did kind of
somebody.
lose out that battle to Hayes. Hayes was the feel-good pick because he was the legacy guy at ISU and all that other stuff, but he just wasn't better than Cook. But it looked that way that Cook left the door open enough that Hayes snuck in there and started a few games. So ultimately, I think Jordan Cook is a good quarterback. He's somebody to be respected, especially on the long ball. If he sees something that breaks out, he's going to chuck it their way, and it's going to be for 40 yards or so. So our safeties need to be on their shit. They're going to have to Safeties are going to have to be working extremely hard that game because they can't allow anything over the top because dude can huck it. But also, like, I don't know what their run game looks like. That's a really undefined variable right now. So I think the biggest thing right now, don't allow anything easy. Don't allow the easy, gimmies of just seam route over the top, touchdown. Don't do that, and you're going to be in the game until you're not.
We can put that up there with we still need to get good at scoring touchdowns until we're good at scoring touchdowns. I listened to that last week and I was like, it's so perfect. It's hilarious, but it makes so much sense.
It's dumb, but it's true.
Okay, so do we want to even the next 4 games are Idaho, Sac State, UC Davis, and Montana State. I can tell you, I don't need to talk about any of those. Do any of those do you see a potential win in any of those 4?
Look,
and
I want to be an optimistic Bear fan, but let's be real. Idaho, even though they're reloading at quarterback, scary at all the skill positions, scary up front for the offensive line. They usually have just hitman, legit assassins somewhere on their secondary, whether it's for turnovers or big hits. That being at the KB Dome as well, I don't feel good about that one bit. Sacramento State, Sacramento State. Just like I don't like them. I don't like them one
Then you're
bit.
not going to be happy
But
at the end of this week.
I feel like they're going to be they're going to be chilling. They're going to be having all their big star guys just, doing big star things. I really want them to be 3-8, but I don't see that going that way. So I feel like that's not in our favor. UC Davis, I mean, shoot, they were second or third in the Big Sky poll. The second or third is still going to take us by the ears and, wipe our face in the mud. Montana State, literally, the consensus.
Montana State.
Literally the consensus number one pick. So I don't feel good about that one at all, even with it being at home. It'll just be nice to see the potential national champions in person.
When do we play the Bison?
No, not the Bison, Chris. Baby Lamp can't carry them the whole way.
Yeah, I'm a little bit not down. I'm a little lower on Montana State than I have been the last couple years, but that's not for everything we're talking about until December. It's not going to matter because I still think they're the best team in the Big Sky.
You're right, though.
NAU,
that 4-game stretch is kind of our murder row, per se.
Honestly, you could have it a 5-game stretch and include Northern Arizona because they're a top 25 team. But I figured with the rivalry and there's a little more like voodoo to this matchup than any of those. So I'll come off the top and say I still think Northern Arizona is a loss, but I don't think it should be just lumped into those 4 games.
I think it's a loss, but with some qualifiers. So it's a loss if Ty Pennington is still doing at least 60% of what he was doing last year, because his ratios.
Is he still Kirk Cousins?
His ratios were nuts. They were just off the charts. Like as far as like what he had available and the age of who he had and like eligibility wise, experience wise, that he was getting that much done with those guys, crazy. So he was doing a great job with that. But I think he needs to stay healthy. It's at the walk-up Sky Dome, so that's not in our favor. That's never somewhere that we perform well. Even when we're in it, weird stuff happens there for us, kind of like how Greeley is kind of some weird voodoo for other people. But this gives me shades of like Case Cookus not being healthy and Jacob Nip just going off. So I don't know that we have a Jacob Nip, but we'll definitely know that far in the season what our quarterbacks look like. And if for some reason Pennington isn't at the helm, I feel like that could be a lot closer of a game. So if Pennington's healthy, I'm saying that's a loss.
So we both have UNC sitting at 3-7 through the first 10 games, 1-5 in Big Sky play. Coming into a stretch of Eastern Washington and Portland State. Not to spoil the next episode, but I have both of these in one category that will make more sense after this pick. So what do you think in that EWU game, Ben? I think you're much higher on Eastern Washington this year than I am.
I think I am. I think I'm pretty set on this split's going to be 1-1, and this is going to be the loss of the ones. Jared Taylor, he's not a fantastic quarterback, but he's seasoned. He makes the right choice 75 to 80% of the time. That definitely leaves holes for turnovers. That leaves holes for incompletions and just missed first downs, missed conversions that turn into punts and whatnot. I feel like he's still a very competent quarterback, and I feel like the league is just kind of down on him because we have Rashada coming in. So he's the big, flashy Georgia backup guy who, oh no, he's going to lead Sacramento to the NIL, FBS bullshit era. Whatever. Fine. Maybe he does. Maybe he just sucks like Dylan McCaffrey. Who knows? Well, that's a very, just question mark city. So Sacramento State could literally rocket all the way up to the top or be down with us. And then Ty Pennington, deservedly, he got more of the nods and the votes of guys coming back. But, there's so much quarterback conversation, and I feel like Jared Taylor gets lost in that. Again, I'm not saying this guy's, going to be making a run of the pros or anything, but I feel like he has a pro mindset. It's just whether or not he can fully show up on game day.
Yeah, the thing is, like, he is weirdly the second probably most proven returning starter, but he also only he played a lot, but he didn't actually play quarterback very often. He only had one game where he started. He only threw for 300 yards last year, just because Vesperis was still in there. Um, I
And Eastern's
I
in
could
their weird
see.
like athlete phase, like just like you said, like Jared Taylor played a little receiver. He took a couple reps at running back. They're in their weird athlete phase, so I feel like if anybody's kind of on the hot seat, I feel like Coach Best might be, even though he took them to runner-up nationally,
You
a couple of
Ben,
years ago.
Ben, you bastard, you scooped me. I was literally just going to say, I see UNC winning both these last two games and Best and Barney getting fired at the end of the year because of it. Not directly because of
Fair.
it, but
I mean,
I
you could
see,
say that.
I think Iwu's going to be not pitiful, but I think they're going to be very disappointing. I was looking at them for disappointing team of the year, but they were already picked ninth, and like it's kind of I see them. I see things
Disappointing
going
because they
bad for.
would fall further than Portland State.
Well, that's why I was like, I don't think I ended up choosing them because like everybody's already kind of expecting them to be disappointing. I still think they're going to be worse than consensus, but I don't know how much I'm willing to say they're going to be like bottom one or two in the big sky with my chest. I still think whatever they do, it ends up at about 3-9, 4-8 at tops like last year. And I do think Best is gone after this year. And we could probably go a little quicker on Portland State. We have them both as wins. It sounds like it's just so uninspired over there. I know you could say the same about UNC, but like we at least still, I've been saying, have things to point to. Like our coach is only in year 3. He didn't have his best year 1, and hasn't consistently had us at the bottom of the conference since. Barney's in a tough spot. Portland State's as rough off as we are. Um, a little. I'm not going to say worse off, but their stadium situation sucks.
Okay, look,
Um,
they're not even respectable enough to be able to pay the Portland Timbers a fuck ton of money to rent out a beautiful stadium. Like they're literally not good enough to get that reliably rented out. Like how is that possible?
well, they don't have the money.
It's Portland. There's
Yet,
hippies with stupid money all over there.
dude, Portland State's like their budget is like with us.
Well,
That
they need to
Portland
figure it
State does.
out.
Yeah, I mean, so do we. But and they're screwed because there's like nothing. They're in downtown Portland. It's not like they have. If they don't have the money to rent out the Timbers Stadium, they're not going to have the money to buy a enormous lot to build a football stadium on. So they're in a weird purgatory where I think Barnum's probably actually a decent coach and it has been maybe overperforming just a little bit. But I think you need a new. He's an Ernest Collins type figure. You need like somebody.
That's just what
Was
I was
that
going
what
to
you?
ask you. Is
He
he the
need you
Ernest
need
Collins of Portland State, where he does and says the right things, but the right things don't happen on the field?
and he's probably like I don't know. If I was a Portland State fan, I wouldn't trade positions with him is what I'll say, because it feels like at least we've bottomed out with a chance to kind of climb, and they're still at their like scratching and clawing, staying keeping their head just above water, and delaying kind of what probably needs to happen.
Look, I'm not going to help them because F Portland State, F Portland in general. But like, guys, why in the hell are you in a money rut? Like literally, with everyone surrounding you, there's got to be so much money out there advertising wise. Like
You could
literally,
say the same thing about UNC though.
no, like Greeley's kind of ho hum, but like Portland State, like there's like you go after the coffee business, coffee's huge on there. You go after the catcheries, you go after freaking big tech out there. Like literally, there is no reason they should be struggling money wise, other than just incompetence. So, as much as they could be doing better, I think it's their own fault. I think they're okay with sucking. Like we're not okay with sucking, so we've definitely made like improvements. We've tried to do stuff. They're
I
the
don't
the
know, man.
slightly more successful version of us that isn't doing as much.
I think we're the epitome of okay with sucking. I'm gonna be honest. I think Ernest Collins, if we weren't okay with sucking, Ernest Collins wouldn't have been there for 12 years or 8-9 years. K Dalton won like 4 games in 6 years and had to quit. Like, he didn't get fired. Or maybe not K Dalton, whoever the coach was when they made the transition. I may be slandering. I may be slandering someone needlessly, but I think UNC is pretty okay with losing. I think the coaches themselves are not, but I think the admin is where I fall on it. And I mean, what giving a coach who's gone 1-22 a 2-year extension, if that doesn't say we're okay with losing, I don't know what does, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as much as we drug out the Collins era, we still got to be thankful for what it produced, though, because we beat ranked teams during that era. We beat ranked teams during 2015, 16, and 17. We went to winning seasons. We had players go to the NFL, and we've had players go to the NFL since then. So I feel like it's not necessarily a commitment to sucking, but it's a commitment to we're going to improve over a long time. But I feel like at least with the McCaffrey era, there was some kickstart of at least like, hey, the grass doesn't look great. Like the players are being like squished together in the weight room, and they have to take shifts just to be squished in the weight room over there. So I feel like at least we're making effort. We're showing something. Portland State, they're not showing anything. Their signs of life is like they may as well have the zombie virus. Like they're upright and walking, but I don't think they're alive. Like us, like we have a new website, we have, the turf field, like sure, those are little things, and we still need lights. I will be a thorn in the side about lights, just based off a respect factor, but I think we're at least making some strides. Now we need to make that on the field, because otherwise it's all for show. But yeah, I think you're right, is that there is a top of the heap problem with just being like not putting enough money into football, not taking it seriously enough. I think not having the lights, not having enough wins, and not having enough resources for the players are systemic issues that start at the top. And I'm not saying Lamb.
No, I agree with you there. And it's been an administration thing, football wise, ever since the jump up. But as always, if you like what we're doing, please, or I guess I should say, before I get into that spiel, Ben, you had them at 4-8. I had them at 5-7. Laugh at us now. Get your chuckles in, because you're right. It does sound ridiculous, but also at some point, like the law of averages, I almost see no way that I don't even want to. It sucks that I'm saying this with so much hesitation, but I'm just going to say it with my chest. We're going to win more than one game this year, guys. We're going to do it. We're going to win more than one game this year. It just fucking has to happen. It just has to.
Yeah, the fans, alumni, players, former players, coaches, former coaches, we're all pining for it. But like realistically, like if we're being real Bears fans, Chadron State win. If that's not a win,
better
be scared. Houston Christian, I think that's gettable. I think across the board we're not bullshitting you on that one. That one's gettable. The rest of ours, sure. We gave our reasons on how we can and how we could possibly approach and win those games. But let's be honest, like if the reasoning we gave pans out, why not? But sure, we're a bit optimistic. That's what preseason's for. So we'll see what we end up at the end of the year, and we can point and laugh or be like, hey, not too bad.
Yeah, if we weren't optimistic, we'd be really fucking stupid for doing this podcast.
Right.
But hell yeah. As always, if you like what we're doing, please like, comment, subscribe, review. Tell your mom to like, comment, subscribe, review. And if you don't like what we're doing, Ben's DMs are always open. Have a good one.